Hmm. Okay. Interesting. Well, looks like we're having an issue on Periscope. Hmm. Okay. Well, Twitter appears to be having an issue. I'm going to keep trying to get it to work. We're still waiting for Kenneth to join. I sent him the link. Um, give people time to connect. And I don't know why Twitter isn't working, but we have YouTube and we have Facebook are both live. So for those of you just joining us, tonight is a special event. We have Ken Paciorek. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but he's going to join us here in just a few minutes, and he's going to talk about his experiences. Uh, he says he's a whistleblower. He says that he was targeted for harassment by the powers that be in Lake County, and that he has been under harassment for quite some time. Uh, he will be joining us shortly. Right now, I'm still trying to get my Twitter feed to work. I don't know why it keeps giving me an error message, but it is. So we might have to drop the link for this to Twitter separately, but that's okay. Uh, I dropped the link to Ken. So I had wanted to get this set up, but unfortunately, I have a teenager, several teenagers, and they kind of got me distracted a little bit. So I wasn't able to get this set up as early as I had hoped, but that's all right. Thanks for joining me, everyone who is here. And I'm waiting for Ken to respond to the link and get connected up here. Uh, and interestingly enough, like I said, I am having an issue. I've never had an issue before with Twitter ever going live. Periscope is the app that it uses, and I've always been able to stream with no issues to Twitter. So this is curious. So give a little background on how I know Ken. I started running for Congress, right? As many of you know, uh, putting the name out there, and Ken started following me, and we talked a little bit. Uh, I've never met him in person. I have talked to him before the last couple of days. I hadn't even spoken on the phone to him. We had just exchanged messages on social media, and I had seen some posts that he had put about being targeted for harassment and some issues that he experienced. So I said, okay, I'd love to hear your story and hear what's going on. And hi, Tim. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. For some reason, I'm having an issue with Twitter, but that's okay. I'm going to keep trying to make it work. If it works, great. If not, I will just drop the YouTube link so people on Twitter can come back and view it later. For those of you, the reason I'm checking my phone is so that I can make sure that we get Kenneth connected here so that he can tell you guys his story. It's actually quite fascinating. So I talked to him for a little bit, and once I started doing this show, right, he was like, so, would it be possible to, be on your show and tell people what's going on with me? I said, yeah, absolutely. I'd like to point out for those of you who don't know, I am in the process of sending invitations to not only all of my first district opponents, but everyone, anyone. I'm always willing to listen. I'm always willing to hear what people have to say. I allegedly Spencer Lemons is going to come on the show. He said he's interested, and I also have heard back from the Libertarian candidate for governor, Donald Rainwater. He is interested in coming on the show, so I think that'll be a good time. Yeah, Eric says, He's been wanting to hear Ken's story for a while. He is a wily one, though. He is indeed. We have some. I have a few screenshots that he sent me that we're going to show you. I'm still trying to figure out how all this stuff works. So bear with me. It's going to be a little slower than some of the people that are, much better at this than I am. I think I'm getting better, though. Ken said he was going to go and that he'd be here shortly. So we'll see what's going. Oh, yeah. While we're waiting, Tim says the governor of Michigan just made it illegal to use your motorboat on the lakes and rivers to fish. Where will this governor stop? She just made an order making it illegal to visit your neighbor, even if you're 6 feet apart. Very draconian orders. I wholeheartedly agree. This is absolutely ridiculous. We have governors that, in my opinion, are vastly overstepping their bounds. What does a motorboat have to do with transmitting a virus? There's a lot more going on here than meets the eyes, ladies and gentlemen. I still wholeheartedly believe that. I think that this is a test run for totalitarianism. There's Kenneth. Yay. Okay. So he is now here. I'm going to add him to the stream. Kenneth, can you verify that you can hear me and I can hear you?
I can hear you.
Excellent. There he is. Okay. So Kenneth is not going to be on camera. That's okay. I have no issue with that. He's added to the stream. So there's nothing really to look at except the black screen. I'm actually going to take us both off of camera here in a minute so I can share the information that I have that he has sent to me so that you guys, ladies and gentlemen, can see this. Welcome to the show, Ken. Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having me.
So if you could just let us know a little bit about you and, your kind of the beginning of your story.
Yeah, well, I used to run a successful painting business for 10 years that I started when I was 22. And I kind of went in partners with the wrong person. And it has to deal with like the opiate crisis.
Okay. So you were a successful painter for a number of years. You picked the wrong partner, and all of a sudden, what ended up happening?
Well, we were flipping condos on Lakeshore in Sheridan.
Okay, and, beautiful area.
Oh yeah. And it was back then when they were just fixing them all up, and we're getting them for cheap. But she was my personal doctor, was unethical, and she kind of told me how to make money and get people to her clinic, and her ex-husband, which was a Paul Mary doctor. And I feel so bad, but I got so many people hooked on it. And then I just started seeing what was going on, and then she was telling me stuff, and I just, I wanted out. And, she then stole like almost $100,000 of mine that I saved up. And I tried to, put a lien on the project, and nothing would work. And I couldn't understand why. I tried to take legal action, and she's, I guess, well connected, and no lawyers, wanted to help me, or they were just leading me on. But it was really crazy what I found out, because her ex-husband knew I was trying to get media and other people involved, and he offered me $50,000 to keep my mouth shut. But I
Wow.
was friends with the secretary, and she told me everything. And she was a DA informant, and I was used by the DEA, the CIA, and her, Dr. Khan.
Okay, so that Dr. Khan is the person that you went in with. She was your business partner on this deal.
Yes. And
Okay.
she did some unethical stuff that, I mean, she should have, I mean, she should be in jail. I mean, because she wrongfully discharged me, and she put me on 10 different medications. And I had to come off of them, cold turkey, which put me in the ER 5 times, gave me a TIA stroke at the age of 34.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Some very bad stuff. It was like the worst time of my life.
Okay,
And
so
it
it
was,
sounds like this has been going on for quite a while. It sounds like once you were no longer useful, that they kind of just washed their hands of you, right?
yeah, 2011. And then, it was planned because she ratted out other pill mill doctors and was like a gangster and just uh, took over shop and opened up like 4 or 5 different clinics everywhere. This one lady. And I mean, she ratted out, there's a doctor called Dr. Rosenberg, Dr. Yanni, or he was on 55th and Broadway. I used to go to Bear Barrel with him and Gary and hang out with them. But oh, I'm getting a lot of static on my end.
Yeah, one thing, I am going to mention this. One thing that I find very interesting is I've done these live streams for at least the last week using this software, and I have never had a problem streaming to Twitter. Not once. I have never had a single issue at all. Um, but interestingly enough, the night that I have you on, it refuses to send it to Twitter. I keep getting the same error for Periscope. Again, I've never had any issues before. Uh, does it mean anything? I don't know. Again, the timing is
Oh,
suspicious.
it does. It does because I hang out with, or I used not hang out, but uh, mess with a lot of those big name accounts, that talks about QAnon and tries to break them down. And a
Right.
lot of them are CIA LARPs, shills, and I mean, one account is Mark Zuckerberg's, and it's. I mean, I went in very deep, you can say.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so what we're gonna do? You sent me some very revealing information and screenshots earlier. The first one that I have here is it's your tweet where you say it's crazy that I was staying at a friend's house, which he had security cameras that caught this officer flattening your tire, or that my tire, and then stuck a sticker saying it was abandoned. Can you tell us about that and what happened?
Yeah, I was. That's actually on a video. I have so many recordings and audio and visual. But uh, you know, after becoming a whistleblower, there's tactics they use. They try to ruin you financially. They take away your transportation, and they try to discredit you and try to take away your support system, all for you to commit suicide. So there's no trace of that getting back to them. But that's gang stalking. And after I was jumping around from friends to friend's house because the police officers, were intimidating the friends I was staying at, so it made me have to move around a lot. At this particular house, he had security cameras, and I guess the officer didn't know, and we, yeah, I caught him. Uh, I mean, it's great evidence. I mean, it's visual of him, stabbing my tire, and then I have a witness of my roommate coming out there and seeing the sticker. Like anything that I talk about, I can prove and back it up with evidence upon evidence.
Right, and that's something that we're going to get into as we get more into telling your story and everything. I'm very very interested in hearing about all of this and learning about it. We know the people who live in Northwest Indiana. We know that it's dirty up here. We've known growing up that it's little Chicago, right? It's just a carryover of the Chicago policies. But
Oh, we worked
unfortunately,
together with Chicago.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, our news media is just like the national mainstream news. They're corrupted, they're co-opted, they're owned by the people that are in power, and it's something that we're very aware that we have to fight against in order to take back the government in this area. I'm desperately looking forward to hearing all of this. We're going to have to break it up, obviously, because there's, quite a bit.
Oh, 10 years of material, yeah.
Yeah. So this is one thing that we have here. Mark Chase, he was the editor of the paper, right?
Yes.
And you talked about before with me, but let the viewers know what you know about him and his connections.
Well, everything got really intense, so I ran to Michigan, and I seen an article, because I always read the newspaper, or I like to know what's going on locally, and I seen this article from him, saying we have to get rid of this corruption, and I thought he was sincere, so I contacted him, and he called me back, and which is all conversations are recorded, and he tried setting me up on getting me back to over the border so they could arrest me. But they were targeting a councilman, ex-councilman Jamal Washington, which he got so much crap for. I mean, some of the charges are just nonsense. Like his cousin said that he came after her with a hammer, and then later said that she made it all up.
And he's the Jamal Washington. He's the ex-councilman. He's from Lowell as well.
No, from Gary.
Gary. Okay, good.
And he had a show called The Real Deal in the Region, and he was giving me a platform to speak on, and he was trying to get involved. I mean, if I have a lot of accounts, and you can look at one account, and his account, I mean, he's like copying everything I am. I mean, he was a really decent person that wanted, a change, and he was speaking up, and they targeted him, and they tried to they did discredit him.
So we've seen what happens when you speak up in Northwest Indiana. You become a target, and they go after you. They go after your transportation. I remember you using the term gang stalking, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and I've heard that before. I just kind of wanted you to explain it. And it's where they go after you with a bunch of people, and it's to take away your support system. It's to make it to where you can't go anywhere, you can't get any assistance, you can't get any help. This has been going on for quite some time. It's not limited to Northwest Indiana by any means.
Yeah, that's targeted, and that's being a targeted individual. Gang stalking is just a tactic. It's psychological, like warfare that they use. It's all to mess with your head. And
okay.
I mean, there's a big advocate, NSA whistleblower, Karen Melton Stewart, and she speaks out about it. It's from the DHS. I'm getting a lot of stats. It's you become on the watch list, a terrorist, which I was on it when there was only like 4,000 people in America.
Wow. Okay. So Eric has a question. Is Jamal the same politician that is in a court battle over a computer with his ex-wife? Is that the same Jamal Washington?
Yes, that is.
It is.
That's
okay.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think Levita was his co-host. I think she got suckered and played in saying those things because she made some accusations that Jamal was holding Levita in her house,
Oh, against her
and
will.
yeah, yeah.
Right, right. We've seen, and recently it's become far more of a national scale. But we've seen anytime that you disagree with the official narrative of something, or anytime that the deep state or any real powerful organization or politician wants you to shut up, it's easy to become a target, and they start spreading false information or lies, and then the retraction when they get caught is never as big as the initial splash, right?
No, because everyone is kind of um, scared because they do know this goes on and they don't want anything happen to them. But they have to realize, I mean, who's not to say that this could happen to one of their children when they grow up. And that's the whole reason why I did it, was because of my child. They stole out of my child's mouth. They try to discredit my name, and I wasn't having that.
Right.
I
Well,
didn't
they,
want him to grow up in the future,
yeah,
like that.
definitely. They came after your reputation, your family. They destroyed your business. They've basically pulled out all the stops, right?
Oh yeah, and I mean, you can ask a lot of people. I was living well. I had a lot of money, uh, cars. I mean, uh, going out, girls at the time, uh, and but I felt that some. I mean, because everyone kept on telling me it's the government. You ain't gonna do nothing. Uh, it's just it is what it is. Take it as a loss.
Right,
And
right.
and
And I
if we still
understand
go
that.
on like that, it's just gonna get worse, and it has. You can
Yeah.
see it right now.
Absolutely. I mean, look at General Flynn. The only thing the man did was, sign up as national security advisor, right, for Donald Trump. Uh, and what happens? They put out some lies and destroy his entire life and his
Oh yeah.
family. And this is a man that has served his country for years. If they can take down General Flynn, what do the rest of us have to hope for?
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Ad,
So I
Admiral
personally,
Rogers. I mean,
right,
so
right.
many. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I personally, applaud you for your conviction. I applaud you for standing up and working against the powers that wanted to destroy you. Here's the screenshot that we have up right now is Lowell Town Council President William Farrellbeg has resigned amid a porn posting on Scandal, to which he claims innocence. Right, so he resigned. Now that's news. But the interesting part is the next screenshot that we have that you sent me, which is where you had talked to him a couple of times, and he tells you, I seen you have done a lot of work at your house this year. Now that is very, very interesting to me, because how would he know what you've done at your home?
Yeah. Exactly. And I was calling because I knew some shady stuff. I mean, they in Low. I love Low, and I will fight for Low for as long as I live. Uh, but I mean, they closed the polling, places early. I mean, and they were having one of Will's guys giving out cards and free stuff, to vote for him. And I like to Michael Flynn, Digital Warriors. We are the news now. I mean, and citizen journalists,
Oh
and that's
yeah,
what I thought. And I go around and I try to dig up some stuff, and
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
there's everything is on social media. I mean, there's sites that you can. do a background check, like instant checkmate. And I can find out all their assets, all their fake corporations, who they're partners with, fake social media sites, just everything, because it's all just in there, and
Right, right.
they use it for us, so I'm gonna use it against them.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We've seen evidence, of the dirty, shady things that they've been involved in for quite some time. You say that there's tons of evidence, which I'm desperately looking forward to unpacking here over the next several episodes as we can get these lined up. I anticipate there's going to be a lot of things that come to light that some people are going to be very unhappy about, but that's okay because that's what we're here for. That's what you're here for, and it's why I'm doing this. It's why I'm running for Congress, because I want a better place for my kids than what we have now. We've known for many, many years that if you're not part of the elite, if you don't have the blessing, then you're not going to get elected. Enough people have woken up, I think, that we can start to take that system down, and that's the hope. That's kind of what it's all about. And if I can bring some awareness in the meantime, then awesome. We have so much to cover on this. One of the interesting things that I saw earlier, I don't know if I put it here. Yeah, I don't think I actually put it in OneDrive, but that's okay. We are going to be unpacking this over time. Mark Stevens says, good old Kenny. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Again, I can't explain it, but for some reason, my Twitter feed has worked before this. This is the first time I've ever had a problem, and it seems to be on the night that Ken wants to tell what's going on. Now, the good news is my Facebook, my YouTube are working fine for the stream, and it will stay on my YouTube, so I'll just drop the link in Twitter when we get done, and everyone can follow along there. But so what kind of things have you experienced? You talked about like them slashing your tires and ticketing you. You've shown me pictures, which will, as I get, again, let me interject real quick. I apologize for being a little slow on this. I'm not quite as good at the whole YouTube live stuff as I hope to be at some point. I want to make sure that I get this stuff on the drive and to where I can share it quite easily, and you guys can see what's going on as I kind of follow along with it. I want to make something clear. I have seen a lot more than I've been able to put out there, but we are going to make sure that these get lined up and are able to be shared a little more easily than what I have right now. I figured tonight we can get a good intro. We can hear who Ken is, what he's been through. We're going to have a lot more of these coming up. I am fascinated by this. We know that there is corruption. We know that there are things going on in Northwest Indiana. I myself have had some interesting experiences. My wife has been followed home. There were footprints in the snow outside my son's window. I anticipate that things are going to kind of pick up as the election goes on. There is a reason that I have the sticker in the back window of my truck that I have, which is the American flag with the Second Amendment on it. I am not concerned about intimidation. I worked at a maximum security prison. I've heard insults and threats that I had to look up. But from an ordinary citizen's perspective, these things can be very, very intimidating. right? You being followed, being targeted.
Oh yes, but it's just a fear tactic, and when you overcome that, I mean, it's unlimited of what you can do, and it shows what I've done. I mean, I confronted these people. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just different, but I mean, I can see from other people because I mean, they did it to my friends, and no one would want to mess with me, which I understood because who wants to have a cop sitting outside your house? But I
Right.
mean, they were I a black truck used to follow me all the time. I have it on live, and he tried running me off the road, and it was a undercover cop. I mean, they've done some. I was beaten up twice, uh, and thrown in jail like 15 times in a matter of a couple months, racked up like $15,000 in bonds. But right now, I have so much support from the police and and firefighters. I mean, politicians. I mean, it's it's totally different, and no one should be having fear anymore. I mean, because I think everything is okay and the good guys are in control.
That's
And
yeah,
there's
that's one thing that
there,
I will agree with you on. I think that the winds have shifted. I believe that patriots are in charge now, and I think it's a great time for people to tell their story, to say the things that have happened to them, or the knowledge that they have of things. I am looking forward to hearing much more about this, about being able to show you guys. Now, I do want to clarify something. I don't have any evidence personally. Ken has all of it. So, if just so
and
you're aware.
another organization.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
wanted
do
to
have
ask, do
it
you have
great.
like a Hitman switch set up or something, just in case something happens? Because they're really easy to get now, to where documents are sent to someone
Oh
or to
yeah,
organizations.
everything is spread, and I don't know. Maybe there's an organization called the DIA, but I do have good intel. I'm not going to say who yet, but I've been helped along the way by good patriots.
Good, good. That's something that I want to make sure we clarify too. Is it's very easy to look at what happened to you and say, oh wow, the police are bad, or these people are bad. It's not the organizations. It's the dirty actors in them. It's the people that say, hey, you go do this. A lot of these officers are just trying to do their jobs. Just like when I worked at the prison, uh, they'd have officers that relish the power and got off on it, and then the ones that just did their job would sometimes get a little flack for that. And people don't understand that there's two very different types of people, more than two, but in general you have those that really want to help and really want to do the job, and then you have those that look to abuse it. So
Most definitely. I mean, I was in jail wrongfully for a year, so I know. I got perspectives on both sides.
right, and
From
that's a good point. I mean, we've seen, if anyone, this is a good time to drop this. If anybody doesn't understand exactly how twisted the criminal justice system is, I highly recommend that you watch on Netflix. It's called A Survivor's Guide to Prison, and it is a great view of what's going on with our criminal justice system. It has been co-opted by bad actors. The laws that govern it, see, they don't apply to the people with money and power. They only apply to the regular people, right?
oh, it's rigged. It's rigged. Like George Carlin used to say or said, it's a big circle and we're not included. It goes with
Yeah.
the judges, the prosecutors, the attorneys. They're all in it. And I have information and about that we can speak later. about. But
Yes, absolutely. Here's the thing. This is what I want to make clear to everyone. This is Ken. Sorry, he prefers Ken, so I'm gonna use Ken. Uh, this is his story, his opportunity to tell his experiences and what has happened with him over the years. He says that this has been going on for about the last 10 years, right?
yes, 5 years. I kept on messing up, and I, you know, tried to figure out how can I, you know, get through people, or and try to overcome this. And I just let things happen to me, documented it, and played stupid. And then I told myself I would come out at the right time, and I didn't tell a single soul. And as soon as the FBI raided the county building, that's when I started a page that was very popular, and I went full blown.
Right, right. And I think a lot of people, like, I call us, regular civilians, which I was before I, ran for this. And I think a lot of people don't understand exactly how deep the tendrils go. They don't understand how connected everything is, as far as the corruption and the judges working together with the prosecutors. And I don't know personally. Uh, Okay, so Dan has a question. He says, I'm not saying you're wrong about the criminal justice system, but if it doesn't punish the rich, then why is Bernie Madoff in prison? Did he just steal from the wrong people? No, Dan, I'm not saying that no one rich ever gets caught. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, let me try to explain it from a little
There's a
different
lot of
perspective.
bias. Didn't
Yes.
Michael Avenatti just get off because of the
Yeah.
virus? I mean,
I'm
look at
not sure he
Julian
tried.
Assange. Julian Assange has been, stuck.
Right, right. I
And I
mean,
heard
we've
I'm
we've
sorry.
seen, yeah, no, you're fine. We've seen all kinds of issues with people, the super wealthy, right, getting off with a tiny little slap on the wrist, uh, or nothing at all. We've had, if you look up, God, I can't think of the name of it, but there's this guy who was arrested, and then he said he doesn't know right from wrong because he was rich. Do you know which one I'm talking about? That story. I can't think of the name of the term for it. Can somebody remember? It's like it's so ridiculous, and the fact that the judge bought it and said, "Oh yeah, you're right," just shows how ridiculous it is. Uh,
I
I
mean, just take like what they're claiming Trump did with Ukraine. I mean, we have actual video evidence of Joe Biden saying this,
mhm,
and nothing.
right,
I mean, there's
right,
so much bias, and it's who you know.
right, exactly. Yeah,
And then when it gets down lower, it's like us just organized crime. They got this thing rigged, and I know all about it.
right,
And I
exactly.
hate seeing good people getting screwed and getting stuck in a system because they don't know, what to say, or what. I mean, it's just it's it's messed up what's going
Right.
on.
Well, my whole thing, back to Dan's question. I'm not saying that there are no instances of rich people being arrested or tried, but let me see if I can give it to you like this. So, someone who has money, right, and I mean like millions of dollars money, gets arrested for whatever charge, and someone who doesn't have money gets arrested for the same charge, right? Bond is set at, let's say, $500,000, right? $500,000 to this person is nothing. It's no problem. And then they're able to work on their case from outside. The person who doesn't have it, they have to sit in jail. And if you've ever been to even a county jail, it's you
It's way
can't
worse
you
than prison.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. You can actually do far more with arguing your case and doing library research and all of that from state prisons than you can from county jails. The conditions are worse in county facilities in many cases. Paul responded. Thank you, Paul. Ethan Couch of Texas is the guy that I recommend you look it up, because it's mind blowing at how insane his defense was, and the fact that it was accepted is just nuts. So yeah, back to what we were talking about, Ken. You've been a target of harassment. You had your life virtually destroyed because you chose to stand up, because you chose to say this is not okay, right? So
Yeah.
what makes now, what's caused, I know a lot of people have wanted to hear this for quite a while. What has kind of given you the courage now to go more public and to bring out all the evidence that you have?
Because I see it's the perfect timing. Timing is everything, and there's a big movement in the region, and I just, I'm getting censored a lot, and this would help out, and I support you fully, and I'm trying to help you out because I know of these other people that are running for that position, and
Okay.
they're not good people. And I mean, it all starts. I mean, you have to get involved in politics, or you're never going to change anything. It's just
Right.
always going to be the same thing.
Right. And that's kind of my thought. I've voted, I've tried to support candidates, I've tried to do everything that I can do to kind of change the system. I've donated to campaigns, I've done the things that I thought would bring about change. And until Donald Trump, I really didn't see any changes. I didn't see anything that was any different. The same lies by the same politicians.
Oh, broken
And
promises.
right, broken promise after broken promise. The one thing that I can say definitively is that Trump made a series of promises to the American people, and he's been the only one that I've seen that has kept the promises that he's made.
Oh,
Uh,
and more.
and promises made, promises kept. There's a reason that that's a slogan. And I was really inspired that the only way to change a system is from within it. We can stand outside of it and look at it and go, yeah, we can call out issues and we can point to issues, but I think that the only real way to affect permanent and lasting changes is within the system. It was why I became a correctional officer. It was just not. Yeah, I have that story on Twitter. I won't bore you guys with it, but it wasn't what I thought it was. I thought I was going to be able to go in and make a change and make a difference, and the system is very much rigged. Eric said, I posted earlier, if you want to reform the criminal justice system, take away white collar crimes of embezzlement and such. Grand theft is grand theft. I agree with that. White collar is simply a way to get away with things that normal everyday people can't get away with, or at least get a much lower sentence. There are people all across this country who are serving sentences because of plea deals, because of the push for prosecutors for conviction rates. These people, if they had money, could have fought their case from the outside.
Oh yeah, or just have the knowledge.
Right. And that's another thing. We see that the criminal justice system is greatly biased towards those from a poor background. They don't give them as much access. Let's face it, if you have tons of money, you can hire the very best lawyer, you can fight your case from outside, or you can at least, if you want to represent yourself, you go, you learn. It's really difficult to do that from behind bars. Now, there have been people who have done it, absolutely, and done so successfully, but it's much harder from inside county jail or prison to fight your case than it is from outside. And it's something that they utilize, right? Because you can go home now if you take a plea deal, right? Or you can sit there for
And that's how they
years.
trap you, because it's so hard for them to succeed that much of a time of not doing anything wrong. And most of these cops, or not most of them, but
Yeah.
a lot of them, I mean, kind of set people up. And I know all about that.
Content Contact says waiting for Ken to respond. Have you sent Ken a message and waiting for him to reply to you? Content Contact? Do you know the name, Ken?
No, never heard
Okay.
of it.
Fair enough. So, what do you think could really go a long way towards helping to kind of cut some of the fat off of the issues here in Northwest Indiana, as far as what you've experienced, right? As far as the corruption goes, what do you think are some good positive steps we could take?
I mean, it's all, there's an agenda, divide and conquer. But if we unite, we are much stronger together. And if they did a little research, just like on you, or, any of the, officials running, like Westerkamp for
Mhm.
the Indiana AG. I mean, we need to put the right people in place. And that's where it all starts, I think.
Yeah, I will agree with that. What's your take on Westerkamp? I met him when I went down to Indianapolis. I actually went to the Congress of Counties, and him and I talked for a little bit. And he seems like a really genuine, honest, good guy. Is that your impression of him?
Yeah, I mean, any if he's the only one that says the word corruption, uh, you know, makes me want to know a lot more about him. I mean,
Right, right.
and
That's
that's
one
what I
thing.
do. I forgot how we met, and I just, looked into you, and I mean, your background, you know, picture with Seth Rich really hit me, and I just, communicate with you, and I knew you were for real, and I have a good, you know, judge of character.
Right. So one thing that I did want to point out for those of you, when you mentioned corruption, that reminded me. During the time that I was down there, I got a chance to talk to Westerkamp for a little bit, and one of the things that I asked him was, so we have these various prosecutors, right? Lake County is an example, that don't want to prosecute for certain things, right? Uh, what's your take on that? And he now the other guys running for AG, they were all about, oh, you got to maintain uniformity and the standard answer. His answer was, I think we have a lot bigger problems with things like corruption than worrying about a little bit of, like, the specific question was, like, for Lake County, they didn't want to prosecute some certain like marijuana charges, things like that. He says we have much bigger problems with things such as corruption than we do with prosecutors not wanting to prosecute for little, marijuana crimes. He goes, if I'm going to invest time and energy into going after prosecutors, it's going to be for things like corruption. And my ears really perked up on that. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, maybe we do have somebody who gets it. That's one thing that I did want to put out there, and it's one reason why I've been such a strong cheerleader, right, for Mr. Westerkamp, because I think he truly gets it.
Oh, I agree.
So Dan said, I met Ken a couple of months ago when he came to Operation Combat Bike Saver with Senator Todd Young. He definitely seems like a good dude. So you got a chance to actually meet him. I have only spoken to Ken on the phone and via social media. He's a very elusive figure for good reason. I mean, look at what has happened. Just a little bit that we've shared today is making me want to hear, what else he has. It goes back a decade. We're looking at a decade's worth of targeted harassment, of people working actively. Just the few screenshots, and by few I mean a dozen or so, maybe more, that he shared with me real quick, has made me really, really want to hear the whole story. And it's something we're going to be doing over several episodes so that everyone can see what's happening here and what we are looking at. I think that we're just barely scratching the surface. I am all for exposing corruption. I am all for seeing what is going on. Eric asked, does Curtis Hill deserve what they are doing to him? They have lined up their ducks against him. Yeah, unfortunately, Eric, I don't think Curtis Hill he's not going to stand a chance, because they have gone out of their way from the beginning to make sure that he's not going to be the AG. We're going to get a new AG. I will say that the only evidence against him seems to be word of mouth. I have not investigated. I'm not a prosecutor or a lawyer. I haven't looked deeply into it to see. I've just heard that this person claimed this person claimed that. We do know that the governor distanced himself from Curtis Hill from the beginning. So I do find it interesting and convenient. Unfortunately, since the suspension of his law license, the Indiana judicial system moved quickly to make sure that he won't be able to serve. So we're going to get a new AG. It's just which one, right? I know that we have Westerkamp running. We also have, I forget the other names. I can't think of it right now, but me personally, Westerkamp is the one that I'm really, really paying the closest attention to. So if anybody has any questions, this would be a good time, because we got about, I'd say 10 minutes maybe left. I don't want to go any more than about an hour. I think break this up. I will try to do a better job of having the stuff ready to show you as far as documents go. There's a lot.
I know we did this on short distance.
Right.
Time, and I just because I kept on seeing some stuff, and I just thought it was perfect timing, and it'll get better, and
Right.
I will provide a lot more of good, entertaining information.
Right. Ken has lots and lots, just the tiny bit that he showed me. There is so much that he has. And I have to say this as my disclaimer, this is not my evidence, it's his evidence. I have no reason to doubt what he has, but I can't speak to the veracity of it.
I haven't had any defamation lawsuits yet. So
right.
I've been speaking out on some big names.
Yeah, and we're gonna uncover so much more. He's gonna share with us some of his most important and critical names that he has information on, and I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm learning all this just as you guys are. I don't have any insider knowledge. I don't have anything more than you're going to see. I get the information. I uploaded it to the drive so that I could share it with all of you. And we're going to kind of go through this together. So I'm learning about it just like you are. Eric says, keep your head up, Ken. Interesting story. Yeah, one thing that I did want to kind of touch on going back when you talked about Dr. Khan, there was a lot. Now, I don't know about Dr. Khan because I'm a little bit further east, but there were a lot of doctors that were just handing out prescriptions, right? They were just handing out really, really jumping in feet first on this opioid epidemic. And my question is, why aren't the doctors being held accountable for this? Why aren't these doctors, because they were just as complicit, and not only just handing it out, but then suddenly cutting people off, which really, really contributed, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're in it with the CIA and DEA and local police. I mean, you got to have that power to do stuff like that. And it was planned to push heroin in. I mean, everyone used to be able to doctor shop and get unlimited supplies of anything. And then all of a sudden you're cut off with no programs. Yep. And that's when, we control big fields of poppy plants in Afghanistan. Yep. And I mean, it's in the movies. I mean, there's many movies where they're just thrown in our face.
Oh yeah. It's not even a secret anymore. Everyone knows that. Yeah, as far as Afghanistan goes, that's what the entire thing was about. I mean, we have it goes way back. I'm gonna. There's a name that, again, I can't remember the name right now, but he exposed the CIA and their connection to it because they just absolutely destroyed his life. He ended up committing suicide. He was a reporter. I'll have that information for you on the next time. Dan says, I don't understand releasing inmates from prison during this pandemic. Wouldn't being in prison keep them social distance and have affordable health care quickly available? That is a fantastic point, Dan. It's interesting because the people who are in charge of the prison system, they always tout how great not socialized medicine, but privatized healthcare has been, right? If it's so great, if it's working so well, then why do they want to get rid of the offenders, right? Why do they want to release them? Because they have healthcare while they're there. As a matter of fact, it's, paid for by the state. It's something that really begs the question: what is the real plan here?
What I heard, I mean, it's a lot of propaganda from the news to try to cause panic, but a lot of the people that are getting released are on, minor charges, misdemeanors and stuff like that. And it's I think it's just, a fear tactic.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I could be wrong.
No, we've seen the media pushing fear, for decades. Remember, it went from 6 corporations that controlled what we see to 5. It might even be down to 4 now because they keep merging and coming together, right? It's really, really scary because it's the illusion of choice, right? Eric says, I hope you start to dabble into the corruption of the American Medical Association one day. I absolutely plan to.
I know all about that. Yeah.
Excellent.
Exactly. Psychiatric medicine. I mean, I know about the DSM-5 book. I know all that stuff, and it's very harmful to us.
Oh yeah. We saw it just with the little bit of coverage that we're just starting to get on the contributions to the opioid epidemic and the fields in Afghanistan. We're just starting to kind of scratch the surface on a public awakening kind of level. So thank you.
Lilly,
go ahead.
Right. Lilly is just, not too far away, and they control a lot of people over here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that we've seen too is they contribute a lot of money to a lot of campaigns in order to keep people in power that will let them do what they want. Michelle says, my spine surgeon was fired for supposedly performing too many surgeries and got no answers after one surgery and had a hard time finding a new surgeon. Don't even know who you can trust anymore. I agree. There is way too much. There's way too much false information out there, and there's way too many people who are complicit in it. Eric says they control it all and have a heavy hand against dissenters. Yes, they do.
Oh, they're big.
Yes, the pharmaceutical companies, the drug companies, the insurance companies are part of the problem, not the solution. We've seen I've spoken before about this. We see the record profits from both pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, but yet we're paying more than we ever have. So obviously it's a direct line, our money, right? So yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that there's a ton that needs to be unpacked. We're going to do a better job next time of see right now I only have a few. I wanted to make sure that I had the layout right and make sure that I knew how I could do this. And I look forward to having this again. I'm gonna end the stream and talk to Ken offline about setting up the next session. I appreciate everyone coming out and listening, and spread the word. We're going to make this, we're going to get the whole story out there. We're going to make sure that we tell that he gets a chance to say all that he intends to. Is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap up the first session there, Ken?
No, I appreciate you, just even listening to me, because I've reached out to so many and no one would. And I hope a lot of more people research about you. And it's time for a change.
Well,
And it's
hey, I
time.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. I have no problem. Look, here's the thing that it comes down to for me is I'm running for Congress because I think I'd make a great congressman. I think that I would represent the people. But ultimately, what it comes down to is, if nothing else, if I don't accomplish anything else, I hope that at least people get an opportunity to see, there are regular Americans that are willing to listen and are willing to do what they can for us. And I don't plan on stopping, right? Even if I don't get elected, I'm going to continue doing this, and I'm going to continue to give people a voice. So I appreciate you coming on, and God bless you. God bless all of you, and God bless the United States of America.
Indeed.